All right, let's go. Welcome
Hello.
to today's call. So today we have Jordan Bailey, and Jordan is a client of mine. But what we want to do in this call is we want to really reflect the journey that he's been on over the last number of months, get his perspective, his insight into the journey that he's been on in business, but also how that internal work that has been taking place throughout his time with me and before then, and how that's affected really how that's shown up in his life across all these different areas. Jordan is running a marketing agency, is now going another route in his business as well, and showing up in a powerful way to serve men in the areas that he's uncovered throughout his own journey. And I'm really excited for today's conversation, man. It's a pleasure to welcome you, bro. You're a testament to someone who dedicates themselves to the work
Mm,
and can really shows up from a powerful place in that journey and in that process with certainty. So without further ado, man, let's get into it.
yeah,
Excited
let's
for
do it.
today's call. If you want to give a quick introduction, even though I kind of introduced you there, if you want to give a
Yeah,
quick
sure, no
introduction to
worries.
yourself, anything I've missed, bro, would love to
Yeah,
hear.
so I'm Jordan, 33, originally from England. I'm a marketer first and foremost, so I just focus on customer acquisition in loads of different ways. But as Jordan already alluded to, I'm kind of branching out a bit more into personal brand, coaching, mentoring, whatever you want to call it, but more so putting myself out there in a more authentic way to then be able to attract people who, who I can serve. So that's kind of, as an outcome of what we've been through and the work that we've done over the last 4 months or so. But primarily right now, marketer, marketing agency, that type of stuff. So yeah, focus on business on the 80%, 20% on the personal brand stuff as well. So yeah,
Love that, brother. Love that. And it's so cool because we originally connected. Oh, it was sometime about a year ago, right? I can't remember the exact time, but
July.
we connected in Da Nang in July. Yeah, so
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
coming up to that time. And dude, it was super cool to meet you in person. And I know obviously we had a couple of brief interactions post that time, and then we reconnected earlier this year in 2025.
Yeah.
I would love to hear just even just looking back in hindsight, what was it like for you in that current time that you reached out to me, let's say early January, or maybe was it late December? Like, what was going through your mind? Like, where were you at in terms of business and in terms of just overall state of being?
Yeah. So to be fair, everything was going rather steady, but I felt like I had hit a black plateau that I knew that was internal. So I was already familiar with a lot of the work that like the type of work that we would do. And I knew that you were the person to like guide me through that. That was another thing where I knew what I needed to do, but there was a sense of like accountability and like a guidance, like a shaman there, just to be able to like help me go through, right? So around January, business was good. It wasn't like it wasn't like it was record months, but it was pretty much like all time highs there for where I was at. Health was steady. Like I was hitting PRs in the gym. I was getting stronger. I was hitting all my health goals. Like friends, all good. Social circle, really good. Spiritually felt like pretty good as well, but I also felt like there was a lot of unsold stuff that I had to like get through. And I knew that to be able to get to the next level and what kind of got me here to this level, and I could coast here, like it'd be fine. But I wouldn't be able to get to where I knew I probably could go, and really just unlock the potential that is in all of us, really. But I knew I could identify was inside of me. So after meeting Jordan in Da Nang, just on it, like literally on like on a chance, but this is kind of how these things work. I believe. We kept in contact over the last couple of months. We have some mutual friends as well. And I just knew that Jordan was the right guy to be able to guide me through all of the kind of inner work, all of the mental work that needed to be done to then be able to get me to where I am today.
Mm. Yeah, I love it, man. Love it. And you know what's it's fascinating about these things is like sometimes I remember one of our first conversations. It can feel like things are actually going really well. Like things
Yeah,
are. It's not like life is falling down around me and I want to burn everything to the
yeah.
ground. But sometimes it can feel like that. But
Yeah, but do you know what that was, Jordan? That was the
yeah,
problem.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
things were going well, and I didn't know how to like hold that.
Mm,
So what I could identify was like, okay, things are going up and up and up, but I would get into this pattern where I would just like want to bring it all down, so I at least felt like it was something familiar. And I knew that if I wanted to, like, I'd already gone through a period of time, kind of individually, where I like had a sense of familiarity with like work, for example. And then I started my own business and then quit my 9 to 5 and the corporate and all that type of stuff. That was after a lot of loss aversion of like getting into this career and having a master's degree and all this other stuff. And it's like, okay, well, you want to just throw all that away to start. Oh, that's unfamiliar, but I made that through, and now I'm in this new familiar state where it's like, okay, cool, we've hit equilibrium again. But it was things were going well, and it was going up and up and up, but I didn't like it. So I was like, I
Mm.
can't hold all of this new like excess potential that's here, and I'm putting a lot of importance on it. So what I would find myself in a pattern, do just little tiny things, little self sabotage things, is that I would just bring myself back down to base level. And things were going well in January. You can look on that in hindsight, but really, that was the problem. And the main problem that I identified was that I couldn't break past whatever internal barrier that I had at this. I would always bring myself back down to where I am now. And yeah, that's when I reached out because I knew what to do.
Mm. Yeah, so interesting, man. And like across the variety of clients I've helped in different ways across the last year or so, this is such a common thing.
Yeah,
It's like there's like an entrepreneurial set point. And it's like that set point where no matter how much you go above it, right, you'll bring yourself back to that same level because that's, like you said, that's what feels safe, that's what
yeah,
feels comfortable. And this process is happening on an unconscious level. Now you
yeah.
can look at it from a subconscious mind perspective, beliefs and just unconscious patterns that are playing out, some dense emotions, like we'll get into that in just a second. But
Hmm.
a lot of the time, man, it is like it's a nervous system set point.
Yeah,
It's like, what do I actually feel safe to hold? What do I feel safe to carry? And when I get to that next level, do I actually feel safe with that amount of money, with this love that I'm experiencing, with this new community, just this way of life?
yeah,
So, dude, what I would love to know is what were some of the biggest unlocks for you, especially in the first 30 days, because like you
sure.
really like jumped in all guns blazing, like it was like straight in from the get-go.
Yeah.
What was it like for you in the first 30 days to kind of reset some of these things that we'd been focused on?
Yeah, so when you get into working with Jordan and like you get given like a certain pathway to go, like you like the hard work works on you more than the work itself, right? So you kind of just well, I threw myself in essentially, and you're given a set of tools. Well, I was given a set of tools of which you're able to unblock a lot of the things which are really holding you back, and like we've all lived lives, right? Think like things have happened and you have relationship to those things which may be telling a story to yourself which is implying a lot and is causing you to feel some certain type of way. We'll just leave it at that level for now. um and you haven't reconciled that, you haven't really gone back and dealt with that. And I literally do mean like go back, like really like think about it, go back to that moment, that literal moment, and change the relationship you have with the situation, with the environment that you're in, with who you were then, with the other people involved, and come out of that experience of going back there with a much more just neutral tone. You're able to comfortably talk about these things. You're able to not have it affect you as much. You're not able to be, I mean, people call this triggered, but you're not able just to be like truly affected by anything you perceive to be, negative or excessively positive or desirable, or these other different things as well. So yeah, for the first 30 days, I kind of just like had a list in my mind. Oh, like you get like we went through the old morning and stuff, and you kind of listed some stuff out as well. But there's a whole list of stuff in my mind. So okay, cool. Like if I'm able to, imagine that you're like a hot air balloon, right? But you've got these sandbags on you, and to be able to get higher in the hot air balloon, you need to let go of the sandbags. So it was just a lot of process of just letting go of just a lot of the bullshit, which was I hadn't dealt with. I just hadn't gone back and identified with it at all. It was always in the back of my mind. It was something that you can just keep private to yourself. You never talk about it to anyone else, but you are talking about it. You're just talking about it to yourself and the previous person. So you need to go back there and do that. And there was a whole set of tools that I used to be able to go do that. And then with the guidance and calls of Jordan and also messages as well, we were able to like pretty quickly work through a lot of these things which I felt like was holding me back. And like almost like immediately, you're like, okay, cool. I feel like much more stable, much more secure, much more able to like much more familiar with my past as well, to then be able to then get to where I want to go in my next level. So yeah, that was all of the stuff that we did for like that first 30 days.
Yeah, love it, man, love it. And like it's funny how these things operate unconsciously as well.
Yeah,
It's not like you're going around thinking about all the things that are like blocking you. Like oftentimes we're not aware of them at all. Like we're not aware that they're even there. They're kind of just
yeah,
like running in the background. And as much as we can spend time, in meditation or spend time just reflecting, sometimes just to get a outside perspective, or sometimes just to get a mirror in front of you, really just accelerates that journey. Because I do
Yeah.
believe that we can absolutely do this work ourselves 100%.
Oh yeah.
But it's just to, do you need to go through the pain of you're going through that for many years, instead of just getting like a mirror in front of you to be able to just accelerate that journey? And that's something I've always leaned into myself as well, you
Yeah,
know?
that was another thing as well. Is that like um, I was very familiar with a lot of the more like just like let's just call it like spiritual work or like mental work that people kind of fall into. Like you end up watching a video of some kid teaching you how to start a social media marketing agency, and next thing you know, you're reading like reality transurfing or something because he recommended it. And then you get into like Napoleon Hill and Neville Goddard and stuff, and like, okay, cool. That's like that's a rabbit hole that people can go down. And like you keep consuming all this information and you know all the things that you ought to be doing. You implement a couple of these things. Maybe you do a little bit of journaling. You've done like a couple of breathwork sessions or whatever. But it's not only like the consistent application of these things, but towards an aim and an intention, which you kind of just don't know what you don't know unless someone outside who is can be more familiar with these things or not just has your back, really just has like, okay, I want to, and I understand that I've got some things that I want to sort out. Everyone kind of does, really. There's always another level. There are some tools and some people out there that can help me go get that. How long you stay in that position is entirely down to you. You choose how long this is going to take. Like ultimately, like because it's already done in a sense. The version of you who has already passed all of these things and kind of integrated all this is already there. It's like already done. So you just need to meet them where they're at, and just kind of having that sense of certainty and clarity and guidance through this is what I chose to do with working with you, because it's like, okay, I can either keep trying to work on this and maybe do a couple of things here and there but fall off the path and then not have like a set structure for it, or I could just spend the next 4 months investing into that time and really having that dedicated like 2 hour block a day, just really like focusing on. That's what I took. You can take less, take more, whatever, but with just helping yourself get to where you need to go, and just kind of meeting yourself where your higher self is. So yeah, that's a really important point in terms of the acceleration of that. Like if you're already familiar with a lot of these different things, which most entrepreneurs are, because it just happens. Like, I mean, it's an integral part of just life in general. And if you end up starting a business or you end up going away from whatever the traditional path is that you were introduced to and that you were like hypnotized into, breaking free of that in and of itself is like a big thing. And that's get into all these different topics and things that people talk about. So you end up inevitably falling into this space, at least like being aware of it. But if you actually like resonate with it and you want to get into it, there's no better way than having someone who is already there, like helping you get through what you need to go through. Because otherwise, you're just kind of just dilly dallying. Like there's like you can do breath work for breath work's sake, or you can have like a true intention behind it, feel cool to be able to go somewhere and really like literally go to that place, help yourself in that situation, and then come out integrated into the other side of it. Yeah,
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that. And what I would love to go into, bro, just
sure.
because we've touched on a variety of different areas when it comes to like how this has shown up in business, how this has shown up in just client relationships, current relationships, past relationships, kids, and everything like that as well.
Sure.
I would love to know, firstly, because I know that within the first 30 days, man, there was a couple of key shifts that happened within you that then affect business actually quite rapidly. I'd love
Yeah.
for you to speak about like some of the shifts that happened there within business, how you experienced that, and like what are some of the lessons you learned throughout that journey as well.
Yeah, sure. So I have a couple of clients who are on performance basis. So there's no like cap in terms of the amount that I'm able to generate on a month-to-month basis from that, and it works out very well. But the issue that I was having was that I would like self-sabotage the amount of effort that I would put into it to then be able to then get to that upside because I didn't feel like I deserved it. There was one month where I had like a very large sum of performance fee, which is like all legit. Also, that was like that's the terms. It's all fair. Like it all makes sense. That type of stuff. But I had a hard time just sending that invoice, like a really hard time. And then so that was like the first stage of just like being able to receive that amount, which is just like completely unfamiliar to like where I was before, my previous self, my relationship with money previously, that type of stuff. And then that's not to go to the fact that I feel like, and this is just a side point, but I think it's important to highlight, the better you feel internally in yourself, I feel at least, like the better your ads perform. Like I run ads for, I do media buying. Like my ads perform better when I'm in a better state, regardless of whether I've even looked at the ad account or not. They just do. Like again, I'll just leave that to the side. That's just how I feel. So getting to the money thing, all deserved. That was the invoice. That was the amount. And I just had like the hardest time wrestling with the if this or whatever, or will they drop me because it's too much and that type of stuff. And it's just like all of that unnecessary worry when I could just like let that go and just send it and then receive it and just like have it already be done. And that's what happened. We worked particularly in those like couple of weeks where that was happening, and I was feeling like really nervous about the implications of like receiving this. Like that, I think it felt unsafe to have that amount of money just like lying there, like because you don't feel like it's yours, and you're just like it's very heavy. It's like a lot of heavy energy around it. So you just want to like just drop it and let it go and spend it and get rid of it. So there was the case of like receiving it, and then once it was received and it was in the bank account, and it was all there and fine. Immediately, my mind was like, okay, how do I spend this? What course am I buying next? Who's coaching am I getting? What am I going to like? What experience am I going to do here? And you very astutely said, just leave it there. Just leave it there. Just get used to this, like being at this level, and it's still there. It's just hovering, and like I've segmented it out. It's like it was the beginning of like a different relationship with money, which I've not had before, and it's just like sat there and it's chilling. I look at it and I meditate at it. Like I literally just open the phone on the banking app. I just like have it there and just stare at it, because really like it's just about getting just used to that being there, and just like and that relationship with it and feeling safe in that. So a lot of the work was not only in terms of like getting myself to the point where like just the ads work better, my business is better, my client relationships are much better, everyone's like much more collaborative. I'm not necessarily like worrying too much about that. Business is steady, clients are coming to me. I mean, there's another story we can tell about that as well in terms of clients coming to me, when you set the right intention. But when you turn yourself to like, okay, how do I like get money? How do I earn money? It's like, who can I serve? And then how do I receive the gifts that come from that service? Then that's when you feel much more comfortable just kind of sitting with what you feel like you deserve, because you do. It's just about realizing that.
That's powerful, man. So powerful. Because what can happen, and because you're obviously very aware of like some of these patterns, right? As
Yeah.
kind of going deeper into this and just being on your own journey as well. But I know that, just from observation as well, and from like transparently from my own patterns in the past as well, we can very easily make a certain amount of money and just do everything we can to get rid of it, thinking that we're
Like anything. Yeah.
anything at all, because
Yeah.
like unconsciously and within your body, within your nervous system, there's an element of safety. There's a set point there that if that goes overboard, you'll just try to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And this is what we got to be so careful of. So obviously, to be able to just sit with that, we're not just saying, "Hey, keep it in the bank account," just to be because we're trying to save money and we're trying to like be scarce and not, get rid of it. It's more just like we're getting used to stabilizing
Yeah.
at that energetic set point of this new income, this new abundance that has now come into our life before we just try to get rid of it. And when
Yeah.
it's there and we get used to it being there, then we naturally, calibrate at that new level. So all of this, I know can sound very abstract sometimes, but what we're doing is we're recalibrating at a new energetic set point that allows you to receive more abundance. Because if we look at the flow of money, right,
Yeah.
money being energy, it's something that we receive. It's an energy that we can receive openly. But when we are blocking that receivership, or even when we receive, we get rid of it as fast as we can because we feel like it's not familiar to us,
Yeah.
then trying to grow, it doesn't really matter how much you do. It'll just be a back and forth experience with yourself where you're getting rid of it. And then when it goes below that set point, you kind of scramble to like make up for, needing to do things, right, to be able to create that income again. Then you get back to the set point, then you maybe make a bit more, and then it goes away again. And it's
Yeah.
just like a constant cycle. So yeah, I'm glad you highlighted that, man. And another thing that you touched on there was that clients coming to you. I know this was a big topic that we touched on in the very
Yes.
beginning, going from a lot of cold outreach, a lot of like, which is very natural in the agency world, right? I know from my past experience as well. Like I remember there was one point we were sending 10,000 DMs every 90 days. It was like incredible the amount of cold outreach we were doing. And I didn't enjoy that at all. And I know you
Mm.
weren't enjoying that either. So
Yeah. And
walk
I
me
still
through.
don't. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I know many
Yeah.
people don't.
Yeah.
But I would love for you to walk me through, because you mentioned as well that like business almost like pretty much doubled within the 30 days.
Yeah.
And clients were also coming to you as well. So just walk me through kind of what that was like and why you think some of those shifts that you were making affected that.
These opportunities came through just because I let go of the need to like try and chase things. So like if like even I'm fascinated by language. I've got a background in psychology, mainly linguistics actually. And when you say something and imply something, so like okay, I'm going to chase some clients, right? So like if you're chasing what like the other thing is running away, right? It doesn't want to get caught. Like you're implying a lot of imagery and just like roles of like who you are in like in comparison to like what you're actually going for in terms of the language that you speak inside of yourself. So it was a lot of chasing clients. It was a lot of like following up, a lot of um just like bad energy around it. And like look, I still do cold outreach, but it's much more of like a take it or leave it service type of thing. And that's still been successful until recently. And that's probably because of the internal shifts that I've made. Not thinking that outreach has to be something which like you have to like mass out, or if you're not doing it, you're falling behind, or like the like that type of stuff. But the other thing which I felt, which feels way more congruent, is just like letting go of the need for like the severe amount of growth that can like within that period of time, right? Like if I look on my trajectory in terms of like money in, money out, amount of clients, client success, like it's all been growing, right? So is it the fact that I'm stuck, or is it the feeling, or is it that is it or yeah, is it that I'm stuck, or is it that I'm feeling that I'm stuck? And all it was just me feeling like I'm not growing as fast as I'd like, and that's it. Like growth is still happening. Growth like is at like a pretty good pace still, but it's just to some random way not going as fast as my expectations are. And like that's okay because the growth is still happening, things are still going up in that trajectory, and it's still going quite fast. Like if you really just like take a look at it and take a look at your numbers, you go like, oh okay, cool, like things are actually okay, and you're able to settle again. But you just spin yourself in an idea of like trying to grow as fast as possible and scale as fast as possible. And what helps with that is just having clients come to you, where you set up, you put yourself out there, and you set up an ecosystem on these powerful tools such as social media, and you just like people just come to you when you are open to that, and you put yourself out there and this is very cliche, but it is how it is. You put yourself out in just an authentic way. You just be who you are, and you let them be who they are, and you don't get mad at someone for doing something you don't prefer, and you don't allow other people to. I mean, people can be mad at you for doing something they wouldn't prefer, but you don't let it affect you because you are just being who you are at the end of the day, and that's okay. Um, so if you're able to, get on video or put out content and that type of stuff on the right platforms, frame it in a way which gives like mass amounts of insight and demonstration of like what you're doing, then you're able to attract some pretty like high level people. No, just an example. I set the intention, like my phone was like it's getting old, like I need to get a new one essentially, and I said to Jordan, I was like, well, I tried to send you a voice note, and I was like, yeah, the microphone's not really working too well. I'll probably get a new phone. And then instead of thinking, okay, cool, you got some choices here. You can like save for the new phone. You can say like, okay, I'm going to cut down on spending so I can do this other thing, or I can just like go sign a new client this month and then use whatever that fee was to go get the new phone. And really, as with all things, it was already done. Literally the next day, phone call booked from YouTube, like a 30 view YouTube video. Came on like an order taking like call, signed next client and done, and that's like a really big client that just came naturally through it. So you set the intention, things kind of fall into place, and you're like, okay, cool, it's already done, and it just happens, and that's how quickly these changes can happen as well. So yeah, you don't necessarily have to like force yourself to put yourself out there in terms of like an outreach perspective. If it's not resonating with you, if it's not the way you can like get clients, then just naturally like believe that whatever you do, which is your authentic self, is going to grow the business. Like for example, I'm into like film, travel, camera stuff, and then I put out some vlogs as well, documenting my journey and that type of thing. And in my head, it's like, how is this going to get ecom clients? And but like it kind of does still. Do you know what I mean? Like there's just some sort of like weirdness that happens when you just put yourself out there and you let go of any expectation of it like having to directly be attributed through like a pix or whatever to like a conversion mechanism. You just get out of your own way and just like let people come through. People do, and it happens all the time. And it just takes you believing that that is the case because that is how your reality is. And as soon as you accept that that is how your reality is, then it just plays out. So
It's really powerful, man. Really powerful. And what you're really describing here is that term of being energetically attractive, right? It's not
mm,
that you're putting out and you're scripting every single video saying the exact right thing to hack someone's psychology.
yeah,
It's more just like you're showing up from that authentic place that you talked about, which is one of the highest frequencies that you can operate from.
exactly.
And hey, look, we're all in the journey. We're all in the journey of becoming more, true to ourselves. And authenticity is an ever evolving journey. So let's be real with that. But dude,
Mm.
what I would love to know is, how do you look at the journey of becoming the authentic self? Like, what does that really look like?
Um, it starts with intention. So like, do you actually want to change the situation that you're in right now? Or like, do you want to be able to get to your higher self? Because like, you could not, and that's okay. That's also okay, right? You could be completely fine with where you are now and not feel called or pressured to do any of like any further work that you feel like you need to do. Like that's also completely fine. So first of all, like you gotta want to do it, and you gotta want to feel that sense of calling of like, oh, there's something going on here which I feel like if I were to let go of would then allow me to like get to the next level. So that's the first thing, and then it's identifying exactly what your blockages are. Like you can't like ascend if you've got a lot of just baggage on you. And what was interesting was that it was the same amount of energy which I spent not talking about it, not addressing these things, ignoring these things, running away from these things. It was more energy to do that than it was just to let it go. You can just like you can just let that go, and you feel like you have to spend so much work or it takes so much time to be able to like help you unblock all of these blockages which are in your past or things that you're currently going through now. When really it's not like a continuous grip because that's kind of what you're doing, but it's just like a let go of the hand, and you feel like you can't do that, but you really can. Um, so anyway, so like that, it's like identifying that bit, and then it's actually doing what you'd classify as the work, but it's not work in terms of like force. It is just like the 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 using of these tools and like the dedicated. It's more like a dedicated time towards that intention. I would classify as the work. Like it can take as long or as short as you decide it's going to take, and that really is all in your head, but it is the intention to like dedicate the time to be able to like overcome that. Overcome implies a lot as well, but you get my gist. And then once you're through that, it is then like a sense of like integration. Like, okay, now that we're past this, how do we like come to this new baseline and regulate your nervous system here? From then, you can then get to do that cycle again, right? Like you get to decide, okay, cool, like what else is there? And just always asking yourself that question, like what else is there? And then once you like identify the next thing, okay, cool, do I want to get there? Okay, nice. I'm going to set that intention. I'm going to identify what that is. I'm going to do the work to be able to get that, and then you get into that constant loop. And that's what people would describe as like a positive feedback loop. If you do have the awareness and the tools to be able to like ascend yourself to the next level, but you can also like fall into that sense of stuckness. Okay, you're at this point and you have this frustration that like you want to get to this next point and you don't like what things are going on now, but then you feel like defeated because you feel like you can't do anything about it, or you don't know what tools there are there, or you feel like there's nothing that you can that could be done about it. It's just kind of this is just my life. This is the way it is, and it's never true. But you tend to delude yourself that you think that it is. So you end up getting stuck, and then the consequences of reality catch up with you when you hold on to these things for so long. Because as I already said, it's a lot of energy to be able to hold on to this stuff for as long as you are. And eventually you get tired out as you descend more into anger, shame, guilt. Like you get to those levels, and you're like, well, how do you feel like you get out? But there it is possible. I've done it. Many people have done it, and you're able to overcome a lot of the things which you feel like are insurmountable. But really, it is all just like I was saying to my dad a couple of days ago. You get to the point where everything's just water under a bridge. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of water. It's a lot of water that needs to go under that bridge. But you've got a pretty big bridge. And it is just like calm sailing under that. Like your bridge is strong and sturdy, but like, and yeah, again, not to deny that the amount of water that's there, because like it's way more than you think it is once you start digging it down into that. But really, it gets to that point where even if you feel like there's like a whole tsunami coming towards it, you can build a bridge big enough to be able to have it go under it. And that's really been the outcome of the work that we've been doing.
Love that, man. Love that. It's a beautiful way to put it. I really like that. What I would love to touch on, so we, is more of the extended aspects of how this has affected kind of life in general, right?
Sure.
Just to touch on it, we've touched on business. So business has been doubled. Clients are coming to you.
Yeah.
Business feels lighter, feels like more flow, and you're kind of tapping into like this more authentic version of you, which is now attracting clients.
Yeah.
So how has that then trickled into, let's say, relationships, like current relationships, and just overall, like just quality of life?
Yeah, quality of life has been great because I've not been like, it's funny that you mentioned business. Like, I've been able to deprioritize business and focus on those other areas because I focused on business for so long at the detriment of many other areas of my life, including my health, which I would classify as probably like number one priority for me right now, just like as an outcome of this. But it's funny, the more I work on my health, like the more I spend like tanning outside and going to the gym and eating right and doing all this other type of stuff as well, the better decisions I'm able to make, the more I'm able to authentically show up online, the more money I make, the more clients come to me, the more they resonate. So, in a sense, really, how it's affected other areas of my life, I've been able to understand the priority that I placed on not only my physical health, my mental health, but also my spiritual health, my relationship with not only um, like my higher self, but also the child that's inside of me. I'm able to really cultivate and understand and not feel alone in that. And that's been really helpful because then I've been able to be in a better place to then show up to not only the people who are immediately in my life now, and the people who I do love, but also anyone else who I'd ever meet ever. Right? Like, that's something that you said that's really stuck with me still, is that like, you don't do this work just for yourself or like, to be able to help the people that are around you, but like, you then become a newer version person who can then help and serve anyone else that literally comes into your periphery and your universe ad or whatever. So you're just like always in a state of like being open and receiving to whatever comes through, right? So that's been really useful. With relationships, I've been able to, reconcile a lot of past relationships, and really forgive everyone for everything, because you can hold a lot of resentment. I won't go into my life or whatever, but from what I've been through, you hold a lot of resentment to people who, like, whether they deserve it or not, it doesn't really matter. And like, you get to that point where it just doesn't matter and you're able to forgive them for they didn't know what they were doing, or even if they did know and it was like, you can still be in that place where it's just water under the bridge and you can forgive them. And that's been so freeing because you don't feel like you have to hold a grudge. When you're holding a grudge, you're in the shower and you're thinking about what you're going to say to them or how you can prepare for this, and it's all this energy that's spent on anything else but what really matters, um, which is whatever you decide it to be, honestly. But for me, it was just like myself, my health, my ability to be able to, live well, stay alive, thrive, serve, be grateful, be honest, be truthful, and just to like breathe, love, laugh, live, all that type of stuff. Which you aren't able to get if your mind's on just other stuff. It's just a massive like opportunity cost, which is all this mental bandwidth, which just feels so overwhelming. But you can really just let that go, and we did, and I'm really grateful for that. Yeah.
Awesome, dude. Yeah, so cool. I love to see it. I would love to reflect on some of the key lessons, man. Like we've touched
Mm.
on quite a few already, but I would love to see, is there anything else there? Anything else that you've reflected on that you see as like a lesson that you have now integrated, that is now part of like your essence, your being, how you show up, and how that's really then affected just, these different areas that we've been touching on. If there's anything extra that we haven't kind of dove into just yet, because there's another thing that you mentioned there on the inner child that I do want to touch on.
Yeah, sure, we'll go into that, but yeah, I'd say like a couple of lessons that are coming to mind, just like operating from a state of neutrality, and not feeling as if you need to put so much like positive or negative spin into anything, has been massive, massive for me, because there's just been a lot of stuff that I've gone through, which I would hold some sort of skew towards or bias towards. And like, you can still choose to feel some type of way of that, but it's a choice. And it's understanding another lesson that you have that choice. You are able to go back to those situations and change how you relate to what has happened to you, so that then you can take that lesson, take that experience, and integrate it into who you are today, and not have it not affect you as much, or have it inspire you to the extent in which it needs to. So because again, otherwise it's just stuck. It's just like dense and void, and like solid, and no, you don't want it to be like gone. It's not as if you're like getting rid of these things or you're forgetting about it or like putting it away, but you're like actively going there and truly feeling exactly how you felt at that time. And then once you're there and you're really deep in that, you're able to understand that you have a choice in that, and you're able to change how you feel about it. So that's one thing. Neutrality's there. Um,
One thing I
remaining,
want to jump in on,
yeah,
just
go ahead.
on what you mentioned here, is that just for people listening as well, when we're talking about blocks or energy or these kind of feelings of guilt or shame or fear or doubt or any of these kind of survival based emotions,
Mm,
when you say going into that, what we're really saying here is we're going back into those moments, and we're not just like constantly reliving them in a way that is painful. We're going
mm,
back in to be able to clear those charges, those blocks that are unconsciously holding the weight that we may not be aware of in our daily life, that affect us
mm,
then how we make decisions and everything else. So we experience the surface level of like, I feel confused, I'm overthinking things, I'm second guessing myself, I'm not showing up fully in my relationships, things just feel off. So we experience that, but then unconsciously underneath, there's all of these different emotions that are kind of holding this element of confusion, right? To put it simply, in
mm,
place. So when we talk about going back into that, what we're doing is we're clearing that energy. And when that energy is cleared, when those things aren't there anymore, those unconscious patterns naturally just dissolve and unfold. And you don't experience the surface level overthinking, confusion, second guessing, or being inauthentic, or whatever the case is.
yeah, that's
Those
right.
things naturally then allow you to experience a higher level of frequency, a higher level of emotion, which then makes you more receptive to receive, let's say, the abundance or the love or whatever the case is that you're optimizing for. And that's where doing those deeper aspects of going into that, feeling it fully, allowing it to flow through us, right? Things we may have avoided in the past, allow those things to be loosened. Those sandbags get cut, and a
Mm.
natural rise starts to begin. So I just wanted to preface with that for anybody who didn't know what you're referring to there. But yeah, let's keep it rolling with the lessons, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, that's fair. And yeah, so like neutrality is one, change is one. Another one is like remaining open to just receiving things and being in a consistent state of receive. I said it before in terms of like, if you feel like, okay, how, if you're asking yourself like, what can I do to make money, or what can I do to get this girl, or what can I do to get this outcome, or get six pack abs or whatever, it's ignoring who you need to be able to receive those things, and what you need to do to deserve like that in your life, and to like feel like you can receive that, right? Like if you gave me like £100 million a year business, I wouldn't know what to do. Like, so it would be given to you, but you wouldn't be able to like hold it and receive it, and then it would end up falling apart, right? Like sand in your hand. Whereas if you built yourself up to be able to like hold that and withstand that, then you get those things. The interesting thing about life that I found is that it's all like all of it is all done. Like there exists a version of you who has all the things that you desire, but you just need like, and it's all already there, it's already done. You just need to be able to receive and accept that person, a version of you, and really feel into what that feeling would be like for that person, like that person would have, because it's not necessarily about like necessarily like the material aspects of it all, or the sense of like spiritual connection that you have. It's more so just like, how would someone feel if they had those things, and you could feel that now and you can be that person now. And because you are then feeling those things, you then end up getting those things, because that's the type of things that the person who feels that way gets, right? So getting back to the feeling of being open, when you're open to receiving all these different things or feelings or emotions, it doesn't necessarily even have to be material things. I'm not talking about that too much. Just like open to all of the different interpretations, feelings, experiences that you might like have inside of your body, and just remaining open to that there may be something like that you just are not aware of like how things actually work. Then you're able to be much more of like a student of life, rather than feeling like you've got everything figured out. Because at least for me, and I'll talk for myself, like I definitely haven't achieved all the material goals that I have. And if I was so smart, why haven't I achieved that yet? It kind of goes in your mind, right? But like, it's just because you aren't aware of how like what who you need to be and how to like navigate that. So when you're open to there being like another way, you're able to go, okay, cool. You're able to dissolve yourself off like the all knowing and get into a point of understanding. and you can like seek to understand, then you can feel understood, and you can feel safe, then you can feel like you can feel those things safely, and it's not a danger to feel those things. And once you feel those things, you can actually get what you need to get what you want to get. So that would be like another lesson for sure.
Powerful stuff, man. Really powerful. I want to build on everything we're speaking about here and go into some of the inner child stuff
Yeah.
because this has been a common theme I've noticed across many clients, but with you specifically, man, there's been an incredible amount of breakthroughs internally that have just been so amazing, so beautiful, so
Mm.
healing, so transformative. And I would love for you to speak about just whatever you feel called to share around that area specifically.
Yeah, sure. The biggest thing that I'll share is that um, you can go back to these moments literally and reconcile with who you were in the past and make them feel safe, loved, seen, understood, so that they have clarity. They don't feel confused. They feel loved. They feel safe. And this sounds really like a like as I'm saying this, this is definitely stuff that I wouldn't say before we started working together. It
Mm,
doesn't like it's not the type of conversations you get into in these like online internet money circles or whatever, especially the ones that I'm in, right?
for sure.
But
And dude, just I want to pause there for a second
mm,
and jump in and just give more reference to when we talk about the inner child. It's that
sure,
child within us that it's always there. It's always existed. We went through our childhood. We experienced these different things, and we start to gather these biases, right? These stories about who we are or what we're able to receive or how much love we can receive within ourselves. And this is all tying back to what we mentioned at the beginning of this call, which is that element of the nervous system, that subconscious part of ourselves. Because when we talk about receiving more money and being able to hold that, right? Being able to hold it sustainably, long term, grow it, and be able to really flourish in a way where you can keep expanding in that way. The inner child within you is still there with you throughout that whole journey. So it's about then integrating that part of yourself so that there is safety. And if you grew up in a time where things may have been really really challenging or things have been traumatic in some way, shape, or form, which we all experience to varying degrees, it's part of the
mm,
journey.
mm,
Then there's a part of you that actually does not feel safe.
mm,
And until, like you're speaking about, going back into those moments, reframing those things, and just doing the work required to move through that energy, then that safety becomes a byproduct. That
yeah,
new level of abundance becomes a byproduct of that. So I'm just so adamant about the work of connecting with that inner child within. So please continue. I'd love to hear more about your experience around that, man. It's been awesome.
yeah, yeah. So like you go back to these moments not as like the child that you were experiencing these things, but like, literally as you are now. So it is you in that room, in that situation, in that environment. It is who you were at whatever age of whatever thing you went back to, and it is the environment that you were in. You really feel it. You're really there. I truly believe like you are really there, and you're able to just see from like a third person perspective and just like assess it how you would assess it now with all of the knowledge that you have, understanding like all of like the butterfly effect consequences and ramifications of like what this experience kind of led up to. Go back and just like help them feel different, like whatever you feel need to feel about what had happened, and then what it feels like is that then from like that point in time to where you are now, everything kind of just shifts and it all just kind of lands up and makes sense now. And what you're able to do is like it feels so distant and far away, who you are now and the inner child that you're talking about. But you're able to like literally like collapse time and like meet those 2 points. Because really it is just kind of like your own perception of it being really far away when it's kind of just not. Time doesn't exist in this point of view. Um, and you're able to kind of meet them where they're at. And then when you stretch back out, the time between the stretch bit, that's all changed. So how you relate to whatever happened like here changes, or what happened to here changes. And then you come to who you are now. And it's all because you went back into the time and you're able to like understand kind of what happened, reconcile with that, feel different about that. And now that you have a new different feeling, your reality at the other end completely changes now as well because you're feeling different. And suddenly things aren't so bad, you know. Or things aren't whatever feeling that you're putting into it. So hopefully, like it's really difficult to put into words the
Yeah,
the,
sure.
the amount the amount of like profound experiences that we've had in terms of really setting that intention and going back there. We've had three really like particular sessions of like breath work or just like going for it. One completely spontaneous, which is like a really cool one. Um, uh, but and then I've like continued to do that in my own practice myself with different events and things. And the main lesson that we've kind of derived from this, like, that I've kind of taken away from it, is that you can say it's already done. It's all done. The version of you that's out there is already reconciled these things. You just meet them when around. That's fine. But I feel like it's more like 99% done because, and especially when we get to like the higher self stuff as well. So you had like talking about inner child, but also a higher self as well. What you want can meet you where you're at, but you still need to like take that step and accept it and like truly integrate with that. Like it's not things aren't. You can be like, okay, I'm abundant, and everything's supposed to come to me and receive. But that's like in my head, that what that implies is that you're kind of just sitting back and like having things again being done to you, rather than you taking like an active participation in the reality that you're trying to create for yourself. And there's a lot of like pride, like good like joy that you can derive from that. You know, you don't necessarily have to feel like any action that you take towards anything that you desire is suddenly bad. Like people call it abundance. Like, why don't we just call it what it is? Like, you just want to make a lot of money. Like, it's okay. Like, it's okay to admit that, right? Like, and you can feel safe in saying, like, okay, I want to be abundance in finances and have clients come to me. And it's like, no, you just want like a lot of money. That's okay. So you don't have to like feel as if everything has to then come to you. Otherwise, it's not right and not accepting, or like, you like the only way in which you can sign clients or get into a relationship or has to like is that things just happening naturally. It's like, no, you can also just like go out and take what's already yours because it's already there. It's like
Mm-hmm.
if you're asking the universe like for something, it implies that it doesn't already have it, right?
Mm,
But
interesting. Yeah.
like, but you are also the universe, right? So would it place an order on itself? Like, no, like it's already there. Just like go, like, and it sounds so, like it can sound like so like evil to be like, oh, just go take what's yours. But like, it is like it's already done. It's already yours. You just need to be able to like reach your hand out, and then like God will meet you halfway, or like 99% of the way there, and you're able to just like take that little step, that little like, okay, this is like an acknowledgement of what I'm actually looking for. This is what I want. It's like a two-factor authentication on reality, right? Like you gotta like click it, and then you gotta like enter the SMS code, and then once you then click that second thing, like then it gets there. But most people get like, not most people, but like I'll speak for myself, but like I got stuck on the feeling as if I didn't need to log in at all. Things that like like if you ever play video games, you're just like max level, you get everything you want anyway. Like no, there's still work that has to be done there. But like that work can
Mm,
be joyful and fun, and you can like enjoy that work, and you can take pride in that, and you can feel proud of that, and proud of yourself for like doing that, receiving that. But it's just not as much work as you think it is,
mm.
because you just realize that this is just the inevitable like two-factor authentication sign on to then get what you want. It really is like those two steps, really.
I love that. I love that, man. And like what you're looking at here is, of course, there's a step to take forward, and
Mm.
I think what can get misinterpreted across areas of manifestation or spiritual work or any of these different terms that are used is that it's like you sit back and you do nothing,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it can very easily come across that way. Now, I do not approach things in that way at all, because there's two types of earning that we have in this world, right? When it comes to, like, let's say, use the term manifestation, bringing something into reality, achieving an outcome, whatever you
yeah,
want to call it. There's the physical earning of, I if I'm doing the work within myself, that energy that I'm now internalizing and bringing to into my life, like it's up to me to bring that into the world. I got to
yeah,
go to the country, go to the event, talk to the person,
yeah,
go to the beach, and go to do a breathwork session on the beach, or go do this or that, whatever the case is. Like,
yeah.
there's an element of physical activity that has to be taking place, otherwise
Mhm.
why would we be here? But then there's also, the other side of that, which is what we're talking about when it comes to the quantum shifts, right? We're talking about the collapsing of time, and I know all of these things can seem very abstract if you're not familiar with these terms. But
Yeah, yeah.
what you're doing is you're looking at more of the unseen.
Mm.
So there's a lot of trust involved. There's a lot of surrender involved, and that that's an uncertain and exciting journey at the same time, but it's where the magic really, really happens. It's the 80% that drives the results. And you've been able to show that and demonstrate that very, very nicely in some of the examples that you've shown here.
Mm.
But we're looking at this from two perspectives, right? There's the internal work. You can call it the inner game, the inner work, the spiritual work, whatever the term is, it all comes back to the same thing. It's the
Mm.
journey of becoming more of the authentic self, letting go of the energetic blocks or the mental blocks or the beliefs and stories that trickle down into the unconscious that we're not aware of, that are running the show a lot of the time. And then allowing ourselves to fully show up in a way without those limitations, and then take those physical steps forward with that energy to then receive, right?
Mm.
In both the internal state, right, where we feel safe to receive that abundance, that love, whatever the case is, and then actually to go out and to talk to the clients or to go on the date, right? It's like
Mm.
both of them. It's like both and I think that's the beautiful dance that we're kind of always in. It's kind of like the masculine and the feminine, right? Like the masculine's going out, the physical action, the feminine is more of the receiving, right? It's
Mm.
both. We need both energies to be able to really master the game of life.
Yeah, agreed.
And it's really beautiful, man. But it's a fine dance. Like it's a dance, and sometimes you need a little bit more action, and then you need a little bit more receiving. And then you need to move back into action and intention. And that comes as a natural byproduct of finding your rhythm. And what I would love to kind of segue into, man, is the journey of knowing yourself, right? We've touched
Sure.
on authenticity, but knowing yourself actually gives you this, I want to say permission, like it gives yourself permission to just be you and show up as you. And that's the thing that is the most magnetic to, let's say, attracting clients, partners, whatever the case is.
Mm.
What has that journey been like for you of really coming to know yourself and what that means for you?
Yeah. Short answer is that I already felt like I knew who I was. I just didn't give myself permission to be that, because I would always be hyper vigilant about how I was affecting other people through being who I was. And it's not as if I don't care anymore. It's that it doesn't affect me as much, or it doesn't affect me at all. I still care what other people think of me. Like I still have loved ones whose my reputation in their eyes is important to me, and I want to uphold that. Um, and like I think that's fine. But just to like be just super aware of like how I need to curate myself insofar as I can fit into other people's worlds, other people's search for me. It's just like a whole mental game where it really is like a delusion, right? Because you could also like be deluded in the opposite way. You can just like think that everyone loves you and that like everyone like wants to meet you and like uh, interact with you, network with you, that type of stuff, become your client, that type of thing. Or you can think that no one likes you, you're worthless, like you're a failure, no one wants to work with you. There's like it's the same amount of like energy and um like perception really. You just need to like shift in like one dimension to be able to get to that point. But in terms of knowing yourself, I think it's really important just to understand like what tools in particular and what different habits and how you want to construct your life really is like truly resonant to you and your soul, and what situation, if you put yourself in, will get the best out of you. Like your best feelings, your best work, your best decisions, like your best habits, that type of stuff. And for me, it's just relatively simple. Like I like the sun, I like good food, I like being in good health, I like working on projects which excite me. I like doing little creative stuff here and there. What it does is that it gets rid of not only like playing someone else's game, trying to like okay, to be able to be this like 10K, 20K pump marketing agency, you need to wear the like Dutch quarter zip, and you need to like run a cold email agency on the side, or like know how to do like DMark or like whatever, or like you need to like do short form content talking head reels like the hormones. Like you don't need to necessarily do all of that, right? You like you can still get those outcomes just in your way, and it all works. And it's just like giving yourself permission to understand that it does work that way. Now, there are certain things you like have to do business wise, right? Like you need an offer, right? You need to run traffic to that offer. Like you need to have someone pay you, right? The payment processes exist. You can't like manifest away like Stripe, right? But there are some tangible things that you have to kind of do, but that it can all still just be in your way and really building your life how you want it and having all the different things that integrate into it. Because what I felt like I was doing was that I would have like my business, and then I would have my like relationships, and I would have my spiritual connection, and I would have my health, and all these things were like fighting for different parts of me. that okay, if I'm like not dedicating myself to this, then if I'm dedicating myself to this, and I can't dedicate myself to this part. And when really, when you know yourself and you know all the different aspects of these different things, you really integrate it into one thing. So when I am being healthy when I'm at the gym, I understand that it's contributing to all the other areas of my life. When I'm being present with my friends, I understand that I'm being like it's contributing to other areas because I'm working on the same like character traits and habits and beliefs and behaviors and my own identity, which is then contributing to the person who I'm showing up with all the other different areas of life at the same time. So there's multiple ROI going on. And when you think things are like all separate, you feel like you're wasting time doing this one thing when like, okay, maybe you are if like it's not aligned to your goal or whatever, but you could also find the ROI or find the thing which is like contributing to who you are as like as a person, but then also could just like change the thing that you're doing and then have it more integrated into who you truly are and through knowing yourself.
Yeah.
It just makes things way more simple. Like I actually like myself now, which is like important, right? It like
Very important.
if you're hanging out with yourself, like literally like the whole time in which you're alive, right? You like it'd be much more preferable if you liked who you were than if you didn't like who you were. And to like not only just say that out loud, but like truly feel it, like just feeling like core sense of peace within yourself. Like if you'd want one thing in life, I think it's just like a general sense of satisfaction with who you are and what you're doing. Um, that I felt like as like a true new identity after going through these 4 months of you, but like as a true outcome of like okay, so you worked with Jordan for 4 months. What did you get? I got me liking myself, and like you can't like ROI calc that really. Like it's just like there's no price on that. It's just like it's super valuable. So yeah, yeah, knowing yourself is super important, and just like get to know yourself, like yourself, love yourself, and be okay with who you are. Because um, like you can do other things while like hating yourself completely, but it's not going to be an enjoyable experience. And I'd rather like 20% less results, but like enjoy myself and like enjoy the process and like kind of like who I am doing those things. Like that's the trade off I'd make any day.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that. And it's funny because you actually experienced the opposite. Like you didn't even have to sacrifice the less results. You actually got more results.
Exactly. Yeah, that is the
Yeah,
thing. Like,
out of
yeah,
it.
like you'd make that trade off
Yeah.
anyway. But then when you
Yeah,
make
yeah.
that trade off, it is actually like the 20, 200, 2,000% on the other end as well. Like you can,
It's
like,
the reverse psychology, man. It's so funny how these things
yeah,
work.
exactly.
And what you're describing here, man, I mean, it sounds like so simple, but to even just, as you're listening to this video, reflecting on like, can I really say that I truly like myself? I like my own company. I love myself in a way where I can confidently say that.
Mm,
And hey, look, it's a journey. Like it is absolutely a journey.
yeah.
And I don't believe there's any form of real arrival. I mean, there's milestones that you hit, but there's so much depth to how much love you can actually truly have for yourself that just emanates out into the world. Because when you talk about attracting clients or attracting partnerships or these things where you're magnetizing the stuff, like people
Mm,
are attracted to other people who are in love with themselves, not from an
mm,
egotistical perspective, but they genuinely know their value.
yeah.
They're at peace. They're certain within themselves, and they don't need to go out and prove themselves to anybody. They're just showing up from who they are, And it sounds so simple, and usually these things are, but that's the thing that actually draws in the opportunities, the people, because people want to be around that. I mean, if we were both sitting here on this call and we were both incredibly stressed out and anxious and just like firing stuff at each other, this whole energy of the call would just be weird.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you just wouldn't watch it. You just wouldn't watch it because it's a different type of energy being transmitted. And oftentimes, as especially with any business online, especially when you have like some sort of brand or you're putting yourself out there in that way where people are experiencing you, you're working with people or you're in sales or you're constantly interacting with people. It's a big energy game, right? If you're,
Mm,
let's say, the founder of a multinational company and like you're nowhere near attached to like the customer or anything like that because you have a whole entire company and team, then yeah, if you have all of this stuff and baggage that you haven't really addressed, then yeah, probably nobody's going to probably experience it, only your close proximity. But when you're actively online and showcasing your skill set, your gifts, your talents, and helping people solve problems online, it becomes very important to manage that energy within yourself so that you can show up from that place of peace, so that you can serve from a place of like power and integrity. and truly, help people on the journey that they're going on. So
Yeah, and it's also about
yeah,
serving yourself. Like
yeah,
I was just imagining that like multinational CEO that you just like evoked, and yeah, it may affect like his close circle, and it would be good for him to like help him to understand himself and like be at peace with himself. But you also deserve that sense of like peace, like
exactly.
and like you can feel selfish saying it, right? But if you put yourself first in that way, then that then unlocks the like selflessness that you're wanting to like do in the first place, which is also laudable, right? Like it's completely okay for you to want to help others and have like a call to be able to do that. It's not as if you're um like an empath or like a hyper empath or whatever. Like that's a skill and a trait that you have which can be like channeled in a good way. But you can also channel that to yourself, and I feel like that'd be like the best place to start, so that then you can like if you have like a true desire to like after you've like integrate like as you already said, like there's no necessary arrival, but if you get to a point where you're like, okay, cool, like I feel like I'm like at peace where I don't feel like I have to be like hyper vigilant or like manage other people's emotions or try and please them, so like I can get a sense of satisfaction for myself. um when I, no better place to be an empath from like being a self empath, like do you know what I mean? And I would fall into that trap where I felt like I grew up in an environment where I had to like take care of others, like way younger before, like then way younger than I like one person would, and that then led to me wanting to always like micromanage my environment or other people around me, and that just like classic empathetic behavior. But I'd always ignore myself in that because that's what I would do. I would put what I would want back so then other people can get what they would want. But you can't do that as effectively as if you got what you want first, and then you're able to like then serve people at your new level, and it's much more fruitful in that way, not only for yourself but for others as well. So it's all well and good doing it for other people, but I would always harken back to just the admittance, and it's okay to admit this, that like it's also good to be able to do it for yourself. um that's ultimately why I went through all of this journey. It's like who else to do it but for yourself, really.
Mhm.
And that small acknowledgement there is actually quite big, because you're admitting to yourself that you are someone worthy of taking care of, like you are worthy of love, like you do actually deserve to go through this work and um like help yourself in this way, because otherwise you would just like continue self-sacrificing yourself for the benefit of others. um but to really give them what they need, you need to give you what you need.
Yeah,
And it is that relationship between your conscious awareness of who you are now, and then the inner child inside of you who really just wants to like feel safe and loved. And if you continue ignoring that, then they're just going to continue crying and crying and crying, and that's going to come up in different ways as well. So um yeah, just like the self-love part is super important. And like you can get into this space through wanting to like manifest a Lambo or like a Miami penthouse or like a South of France like villa or whatever. But really deep down it's a case of like you can truly create your reality of somewhere where you feel okay with who you are. And then from that point, that worth that is just worth it, like more than whatever you can get materially, truly. And that's like the, I guess, like the biggest lesson I've learned from working with you is, I would entertain all this like think and grow rich stuff, and it's all around like making money, or like, or you want to like attract a partner, or like attract all these clients, or grow your business. But really, it's just about like becoming the person who could then go do those things, and that in and of itself is like the main like chunk. That's the foundational stuff which I've unlocked here, which I then feel much more like safe to then go for these bigger things. I feel like when I went into this rabbit hole, I felt like I skipped a step. I was not, but the information there wasn't resonating with me because I wasn't ready for it, because I already had all this like sandbags that I needed to like cut off before I went to the next level. So
so powerful, man, so powerful. And it's like what you're coming back to here is like you're then giving from overflow, and I think that's actually truly giving. And there's something I've been pondering recently, which is related to this as well, which is it's letting go of the desire to simply help for the sake of receiving something in return. And what I mean by that is like if you're giving, right, giving or serving or whatever the case is, but at that self sacrifice from a place of self abandonment in some way, there's something underlying there that's looking to receive some form in return of the service that you feel like you're providing. Now, that can be a mind twist. But what I mean by this is that if you're giving from a place of needing something, it's not truly giving. So coming back to what you're talking about here, it's like when you're giving to yourself first, you're actually coming from overflow. Like I can actually go and I can actually help and serve this person to the highest level because I've taken care of me.
Yeah. You can't give
You
what you
know?
don't have.
Exactly. Exactly. And I've observed this across just the industry, obviously the online industry, and then people I know who have in-person businesses and things like that, where this is across the board. It's like there is work to be done within the privacy of silence, the privacy of your own soul. And that is the work that compounds into the astronomical results that come in the external world. But when you constantly find yourself caught up doing and in momentum of just constantly taking action towards something, you're bypassing the work that needs to be done within. And it's like you said there, you're kind of skipping a level. Like you can't skip levels. Like there's universal laws in play here. You can't skip levels. You're just not allowed to do that. It's just part of the rules of the game. So we have to at some point come back to ourselves and do that work that's required, whether it's letting go of a certain thing, whether it's, letting go of a certain behavior, whether it's just reforming the identity of like, hey, who am I? Where do I want to go? And what does that actually look like? What do I actually want? When we start to take a step back into that, we let go of what's known as spiritually bypassing. We're not trying to spiritually bypass the work that's required. And then we're also then showing up from a more powerful place, serves the people around us just by us emanating a new frequency. And the actions we take carry a different energy, has a different effect because it's coming from a different place. So, dude, everything you shared there is so powerful. Is there anything else that's coming to mind for you right now that you'd like to share before we kind of bring the call to a close?
Yeah, I would say um, this work can feel like intimidating at times. Oh, it's like there's a lot of work, or like all these different authors, all these different books, all these different ways of thinking, and these type of things. But what I found most helpful was that you distilled it down into something that I could like truly understand, and that's been game changing for me because when you distill it into a couple of principles of just like just like understanding like the power of neutrality, for instance, or just like remaining open to like interpretations, and remaining that like observer, being able to like understand you do have a choice in all these moments of just who you want to be, feeling safe in yourself, coming back to the inner child, integrating with the higher self. Like I'm saying all these words, but like they like hopefully it's resonating. Like it gives you a path to be able to get out of the hole that you feel like you're in. And like you could either be in a hole, or you could feel like you're in a hole, right? You can be stuck, or you can feel like you're stuck. Either way, like these are the tools to be able to identify which one it is, and then be able to help you get rid of that. And then once you're rid of these things which you've like ultimately self-imposed on you, like you feel like you're stuck, or like you are stuck literally, then you're able to be like, okay, cool, I'm not. And that would be great, right? If you could feel like you weren't stuck, it would be great if you like felt like you loved yourself. Like these are all things that are great, and these are all achievable, and it's all yours, and it's already done. Like just the one foot in front of the other step to be able to like go and receive that and do what is required to be able to come to that realization based on like whatever paradigm you're in now, and be able to shift that. That's going to take like a bit more of like a bit less of just like a do nothing and then everything kind of just happens, but more of a I've invested into myself. I'm dedicating this period of time to be able to work on this. And then because it is already done, by the time this time is done, the outcome will then be achieved and I'm able to get to where I want to go. I think it's also important to go beyond a lot of like the information rabbit hole that you can get into. So there's a lot of YouTube channels, there's a lot of books, there's a lot of different like people who talk about this side of life in general. But it's another thing to actively invest yourself into someone or into a process for a specific outcome, because you're not just reading this stuff or being like entertained by the idea of manifestation or the idea of reality creation. You're being an active participant in that. You're saying, I am someone who not only understands these tools, but is able to use them. Because you can continue to watch this stuff from the outside, right? And be like, okay, that's cool that they're talking about it. And it'd be, but you're still in this, well, I was still in this place of it would be nice if this was like possible. But as soon as you take the step and be like, no, I'm actually going to dedicate myself to have it be possible for me, that's when things suddenly start falling into place. And you're like, okay, cool, that thing I read 4 years ago, this is how it's applying now. And it is again that like that initial step, that initial investment into yourself. Not even talking monetarily, because really that's just like an aside thing. It's like a I am dedicating this period of time to be able to get to this outcome. And you can either do that yourself, that's fine. That will take however long you decide it takes. Or you can have someone help you with that and accelerate that process and give that certainty and clarity and process to be able to achieve whatever you want to achieve. And that's what I got from working with you.
Incredible, man. So glad that you had that experience. And like what you're touching on here is so powerful because it's like we are actively moving from an age of information into implementation. There is no shortage of information. Like we have access to AI, we have oceans and oceans of content that we could never possibly consume it all in our lifetime. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful time that we're at within humanity right now. But where true transformation comes is the implementation of not all of the information, but the right information at the right time for your specific scenario of where you're at and how you operate and how you're wired in your business or in your thing that you're working on. And that's where the information becomes potent. And that's where you can simplify things. And that's the mission that I'm on with all of this stuff because I could be another person talking about these things on YouTube, or I can create something that's actually going to create transformation for people and for them to have these kind of breakthroughs and realizations themselves, not because I'm some magic person who is the person who is solving all of these things for people. It's because I'm simply the mirror. I'm simply the person that can help someone realize these things within themselves. And I think that's where the implementation and being someone who goes and takes action with these pieces, right, and actually invests in themselves and actually puts that time and energy into this, that will come in the magic of the results that come externally from that.
Yeah, everyone's got a course now. It's called whatever GPT you program and put in like, I don't know, every like Yogananda, Neville Goddard pre-program. Like you can do that, right? You can create your own little narcissistic like personal assistant to give you feedback in terms of what you need and make you feel good about yourself. But you still need to actually implement these things to get the outcome that you're like mentally masturbating yourself on in terms of like getting all that information in. And the implementation is huge. Because like again, I could have done this myself because all the information is out there, but because there was so much information out there, I actually couldn't do it. And it takes it takes saying, okay, I need to implement this stuff now. Where do I start? Like that's the overwhelm that you get into, and then you end up being stuck and you just don't do anything about it. So not only are you loaded with all this excess information, which is like playing on your mind, and you feel as if you know you need to do something with it because otherwise, why are you holding it in your head? But you're not, and then it's causing your body stress, and you're like, okay, cool. Like if you actively make the decision and like the personal investment into yourself to say, no, I'm actually going to be like a person who has control over like my reality and how I want to live, then Jordan's your guy. Because like anyone online ever can position themselves as like a money manifester or some sort of reality creator, or whatever popular term that is happening or happened before, whatever unique mechanism or whatever. But if someone is out there saying like, no, like, yeah, all the information's here, but like if you actually like want to like, implement it and actually get the outcome, like do the work and actually just get the result. Like focus on the result, get the result, take the action, which isn't as much as you think it is, but it's still action to get the result. That's fine. Like I'll say another thing as well. I like there's a lot of information inside of what Jordan provided to me, and I've not had to feel like I've had to go through all of it to get the outcome still, because the actual work, like 99% of all the work was done in like one breathwork session, really, right? But like it's like a plumber coming and twisting a valve because you just like know where to twist, right? So like, but you wouldn't know that unless you like had the experience and the intention to like implement and actually get that result, right? So I mean, it's a whole bunch of info that's just like there. I haven't seen it, not necessarily like not necessary, not for this place and time now, but for the like the little tiny bit that was there, but not even in terms of like, oh, like, okay, cool, that's an insight I can take for the rest of my life. That's an insight that I can use to have a better relationship with myself and my loved ones. that's a better frame that I can hold in terms of clients to be able to receive them better. This is something I can overcome in terms of something I've been dealing with for the last like 2 decades. Like these things in the moment, in that little like 30-second bit, like that's where the magic happens. It is that like that little like tiny creative skew massive bit, which you don't get from YouTube. You just don't. Like I do my own individual breathwork sessions. I read books all the time. It's constantly in my mind. I'm thinking about this stuff. I journal, right? I eat clean, do all the type of stuff. Like I like Bali too. Like I like being in, like I like going to these different things, whatever. Um, Nothing beats actually having the intention to be able to like actually take action to go solve that, and just get out of this like healing loop, right? Like, oh, I'm healing. I'm on my healing journey. You said that 5 years ago. Like, it's taking as long as you're deciding it's going to take, and ultimately you can like take the action and implement what you need to do to be able to like get out of that, because you can get obsessed with the idea of being in like being in, like, someone who needs to be healed. That again in the language is implying that you're already injured. So when are you going to recover? When are you going to arrive to a new point where you're able to then understand what next are you going to do? Because you can get obsessed with the process of manifestation and healing, but like, they call it split testing your way to zero. You can do all these different things, all this different information, all that type of stuff, but like ultimately you end up like getting nowhere and spinning your wheels. And if you want to get unstuck, then ultimately it's going to take some action for it. And Jordan's your guy for that.
Powerful reflection, man. That powerful reflection, dude. I'd love to just go into like what's kind of the next steps for you, just as we bring this call to a close. Like, what are you working on? What are you thinking about? What are some things that are you going to be showcasing from your journey and the direction that you're moving in? And then, as part of that, where can people find you online so they can connect with you deeper, potentially work with you as well? Like, who knows? And just explore like your journey and what you share online as well.
Yeah, sure. So I've started offering, from the marketing agency side of things, I started going into services which are much more aligned in me, but also much more leveraged. So not only do they have like a bigger effect in terms of the client side of things, where you're like unlocking a new like system for them, and I'm actively like helping them implement that, but it's also leveraged on my end. So it's a big upside for them, but also like the like you leverage a lot of AI and systems and automation to be able to get it done. It's all really good, and I enjoy that process. Like I can set up Google Ads and YouTube Ads all day, but it's the creative side of things which is able to solve client acquisition for brands and companies, which I truly believe in. Like I only work with like in health space, wellness space, that type of stuff. So that's been really aligned. And again, I've been able to find this alignment of like who I want to serve, but also who I don't want to serve. When you get into a center of alignment and you're like, clients start coming to you, you end up having to say no to people who you just don't want. Like you wouldn't, like if you reached out to them and like maybe you were desperate for their money, you would take them on, but it would feel icky. Whereas if they're coming to you and they're like, hey, I want to work with you, like it's okay to like you're in a position to be like, no, actually I don't want to work with you. And that's so freeing. Like, okay, I can just like drop this 3K retainer because like it would be worth like I'm much more higher value than that, like in terms of my soul, right? So that's what's been good in terms of the alignment for it. But that's been going good. I've been much more creative in terms of just like trying different stuff out, seeing what sticks, getting myself to a position where I can like just share my perspective on the world and just see who comes through on that. No like coaching funnel offer VSL YouTube channel, like many chat automation setup yet. I can't get rid of the market of me too much, but generally speaking, just like putting stuff out there and seeing what sticks and seeing what people like about it. So that's been good. And then also just like using the platforms which I most resonate with, which is YouTube. So I've got the business YouTube channel, but I also got my own personal YouTube channel, which is just documenting my journey of scaling the agency. In there, I talk a lot about like different like business stuff, but more so it's like 80% my own personal journey. And you can really just kind of see over time the changes that I've made, traveling around Southeast Asia, going back home a little bit, where the business at the time, how the client accounts are doing. And it really is like a good log of what I'm doing, where I'm going, what I'm traveling to. And that's also been really good to be able to help inspire others. Because you get to a point where it's less about taking what's out there and being like, okay, how do I like make money or get what I want, but more so like then you get to, okay, what can I receive? But then you also get to then that extra point of like, who can I inspire to be able to like get to the same realization? Because you see a lot more value, like beyond the material and the monetary side of things. Like you put a lot more effort into just the inspiration and the service behind it. So like I've not signed any clients from it. What, like, why are you building a personal brand when literally you should just be sending more cold emails? It's like, actually no, like I get a lot more like self satisfaction and um like goodness, for lack of a better term, from inspiring others to hopefully go and make the same decisions that I've made and come out the other side. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Jordan Harold Bailey, YouTube, Jordan Bailey. There's a couple of Jordan Baileys on there, but it's the one with my face on it. So there you go.
The one and only.
They're the one and only. That's it.
I love it, man. Thanks so much for your time, your energy, and your dude. You're just your commitment to the journey. It's so amazing to work with clients who are committed and show up the way that you have. And, you know, just everything you've shared is a testament to how you have taken the things that have worked for you and really created your own transformation and became, you know, someone who can truly tap into being someone who creates their reality rather than thinking it's a nice idea. So, dude, appreciate you so much. Been so cool to connect, so cool to work together. And, dude, just excited to see where this journey takes you overall.
Thank you. And I appreciate you too. Like a lot of this work was done like by me, but also but then facilitated and guided by you, as more of like a shaman, as it were, just like there to be able to help guide and then be able to steer me in the right direction and really intervene when necessary, which is really important. Like couldn't have asked for a better guide in this sense. So eternally grateful for you. Thank you.
Of course, brother. Much love. Much love.